Good morning. Welcome to Diane's Kitchen. No, it's not a cooking show, but it is a place to sit down to gather information from interesting people and see what they've been up to. Today, my guest is Terri Reiter. I have never seen a more powerful and dramatic get done personality ever. I have known you since forever. I had no idea you were such a mover and a shaker.
Well, thank you. It's a high compliment. Thank
Well, you've done a marvelous job. And what we're talking about is now, what is your position in the committee?
So
What's your title?
I am the chair of the Railroad Park Board. We often refer to it as Railroad Park Committee. And I'm also chair of the Friends of the Railroad Park, which is a 5013C.
Right.
And that's developed under Spooner Development Corporation so that we can have a fundraising arm because the Railroad Park Committee is a city entity and city is not allowed to fundraise.
Oh, I
Public
didn't know
entities
that.
can't fundraise. You need a private for fundraising. So people get a tax benefit
Sure.
and such. I mean, so I guess I should say that, yes, the city wouldn't provide a tax
Okay.
benefit.
So you're kind of like top dog on two committees.
Yes.
And maybe that's why this is working well. What we're talking about here is something that is, to me, absolutely phenomenal, just genius that is coming to Spooner and is going to fill a big need. Because if there is a gathering, whatever the gathering is, weddings or parties or corporate something, there's really no place to hold it in Spooner. Shell Lake has a nice community center, but it is limited in its seating. The other venues are way out of town, and it's tough in the winter to get people to drive. Not only way out of town, but it seems like there's 1,000 hills before you get there. And on snowy, slippery roads, people don't want to be driving, especially at night.
Mm-hmm.
You are, okay, whose vision was this first to take this old railroad roundhouse? Now, does that mean that the train used to stop in Spooner and then it had to go on the roundabout and then face back down south?
Well, what it was is Spooner was the hub of the Omaha X. There's a cross that went and so the roundhouse, I'm not sure how many stalls there were originally. The original pictures show that it goes all the way around, and we do have a historic sign that is up facing the roundhouse now for folks to go down to the area and see what it looked like back in the day. But there was another piece remaining, and in the 90s it burned down. But the trains would come and turn on the turntable to go in for work to be done in the roundhouse. So that's where
That's what that was
so
for.
there were the bays, if you will,
Sure.
that was underneath the concrete. Then it was a big space so that the working guys would be down there and could work underneath the engine. And then I'm not really good at all of that. And shout out to Tim Belter and the Railroad Memories Museum that's right next to the site. They know everything. And if Tim, if you're watching this, he's probably going to feel badly that I'm not more able to give the huge history of it. But the railroad is why Spooner exists. And it was such an important part to this community. And so this piece has been left. The city used to own it, but then it went, the creamery was over there at one point.
Oh, I didn't realize
And then
that.
it was Dick Duran had it, and it was used as storage. And then the Thompson family had this piece left. There's 8 stalls left, and the Thompsons gifted it then to the city in August of 2016. And before the city received it, we at City Council had a long talk. Could we do this? Could we take this on and restore it, because we can't
And find a use
and find
for
a
it.
use, because we can't just use tax dollars for it. Sometimes people say, well, just can't the city just pay for it? But keeping in mind, we're fiscally responsible for your dollars. Those that live here, and we have to be careful of what we're doing with people's tax dollars.
Exactly.
So we did accept the gift, and because it would be a tragedy to let that wonderful building crumble.
Oh, definitely.
And the roof was in very bad shape at that point and needed the timbers inside, and the roof a lot of them were
Do you have
rotting.
any idea how old that building is?
I saw in the Railroad Memories Museum has this book, and I saw that there was some restoration done in 1903.
Ooh.
So I think it
restoration
was
in 1903?
Something or adding
so
to
that
it.
Must mean that it
like
had
the
been
late
there.
1800s, I would think. But there are very few roundhouses left in the United States, and there's what I've been told and looked into is that there's like a handful of turntables, original turntables. Now in Minnesota at the Jackson site or whatever, they had pulled theirs out and cemented it in, or cemented over the mechanics of it, and they ended up buying one from somebody, and it's not even the right size. But we have the original turntable, and the guys believe that it would run. The Memories Museum have the plans over in one of their buildings on how to get it up and restored. So our vision is that we would like to have the turntable up and running, and we'd have a car. Greg Vreeland from the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad is real excited about this project. He's very encouraging. He brought us several rail ties for us to use in our grounds as we'd like. And we have visions of him bringing a car down and actually parking inside. And someday it'd be fun to have that a restaurant inside, a restaurant car inside.
To bring people up to speed, this is something that used to be vital to the community.
Yes.
The train used to stop at Shell Lake, and then as Spooner developed, it went on to Spooner. Spooner embraced it, became the railroad town. Shell Lake is the logging town, because that's what made Shell Lake. This building is not front and center. The location is terrible, only because this was a working building and it didn't need to be in the middle of the town. So it's set back a little bit, and if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there. But this part of Spooner is being developed with businesses and housing, all sorts of things. And so suddenly you get this piece of property, you get this old, decrepit, days gone by railroad roundhouse. Who first had the idea of, we can do something with this?
Yes, and you had asked that, and I missed it. There's so much to say about this whole thing, but Mayor Gary Kuski, this has been his dream, and
to develop the roundhouse
over 10 years. Yes, to develop the roundhouse. He was instrumental in developing the Railroad Park Board in 2010.
Oh.
And I believe Brad Patchen was on the original committee and still is. But it was the mayor's dream that we bring this back to life in some way. And so he commissioned this board, and it took many years of planning, and they'd talk, and some students came from I'm not sure, actually, I won't quote where they came from, but they came and did an idea board, if you will. And then I got on city council, I think I started in 2015, but Bill Marks noticed my enthusiasm for the library, which I'm on, and he asked me in December of 2016 if I would take over being chair, because he thought that I could maybe be the steamroller that would get things going.
Had much happened between?
Just the plan, just talking and planning, and we did as a council. talk about the area a bit too,
Mm-hmm.
and what should happen, and agreed to take this gift. So then I started as chair in 2017, and the mayor is an ex-official
Mm-hmm.
member of that. And Andrew Nussbaum was the regional Wisconsin tourism representative,
Sure.
and he was very strong behind this as well. But he moved to the southern part of the state,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but he drew up a really wonderful paper on it, the history of it and such. And so I just started bringing people to the table, and we ended up having a ribbon cutting in August 4th, I believe it was, in 2017.
Okay. What amazes me most and makes me have full admiration for you, so many things on paper are going to work, and they never work. They hardly get off the ground, and they're abandoned. This project has just exploded.
Mm.
All the people that have helped, all the people that have given hours and hours of volunteer work, all the people that are doing the fundraising. You have some major money donated already to this project. At what point did you decide, yes, this is what we're going to use it for? Because I know there was all sorts of ideas that,
Right. So,
were around.
well, Railroad Park Board or committee is charged with making all the decisions and all the planning.
Right.
And the city assured me that that was true, that we got to make decisions and such. And they've been really good about that
Good.
because it is a city property. Now, I had to work with people to get that, the nonprofit arm, the fundraising arm,
Mhm.
and Spooner Development Corporation. We had to work through everything to get that together, but it took. It just sometimes I wonder if people find that I'm irritating or something, or
Hey,
because I, you
squeaky
have to
wheel
keep
gets the
you have to
grease.
keep calling back and
Yes.
touching base and stuff. But the committee itself, it takes time. I know sometimes people would say, "Well, what are you doing? Nothing's happening." But
Right.
it takes time to plan.
They don't realize that a lot is happening. It
Yes,
just
it
doesn't
is a
show
lot.
yet.
And so it just took a lot of planning, and we've
Right.
had members that have come and go
Sure.
because things come up and they can't give
Sure.
the time. But the Churchills were real helpful. Sue
Good.
Churchill has quite an eye, and then her son Blaine actually
Oh,
helped out when
he's a
we
genius.
came up with this floor plan and stuff. We had some community members, and Jerry Thompson came and
Sure.
helped. But
Who
yeah, so
and when finally decided on what you were going to use it for? Because ideas were floating,
Yes,
the youth
so-
center or retail and those things were not really practical because this is not downtown. You've got
Yes.
I would imagine there's a lot of people who don't even know where it is.
Well, that's exactly. I'm also a funeral director. I work for a local funeral home, and I was at a funeral, and my boss actually didn't know I was working on this, and he said, "Where is the roundhouse?" So
Exactly.
he looked on his phone, and he
That's
saw it.
what
But
makes it ideal for what it finally is going to be.
yes,
And what is it slated to be when finished?
and I'm not sure exactly at what point our committee nailed it, but it was the committee. It was the Railroad Park Board.
And what is this being called?
And so
banquet facility?
It's called an event center.
Event center.
Yes,
right.
A community event center. So you've got the movies now. We've worked once we decided what it was going to be. Then one of our members, Addie, the executive director, Spooner's Chamber executive director, contacted WITC, the architect students, and they actually came and helped. They gave us ideas, and that was isn't that exciting?
This is a great write-up. This is absolutely great
They
for the
did that.
WITC.
I guess there's some information that's incorrect on that as far as when it started and
Yeah,
such. But it was wonderful, and
Yeah.
I got calls from people, and
Good.
it was really exciting. So that was huge. So that gave us a tool then, and we reached out to the DBS architect firm, and then they came in, and these kids saved us at least $2,000 because they had done the measurements
Mhm.
with their instructor, and they started a Revit file, and that's how you can make these movies from.
And who made these amazing movies?
The DBS group.
Okay, these movies will be attached to
Okay.
this broadcast,
So
so people
that-
can just see. Now, before you go on, it also said somewhere in here in your press release that you can see at City Hall. There are plans?
Yes, so DBS, what we contracted with them for was the exterior and interior movie, and then 4 poster boards, and they've got them strategically located at City Hall.
Do you know how many people this will seat?
Yes, the DBS group indicated that it should seat 1,500. I didn't. I thought
You can grab your phone and turn it off.
I will
That's fine.
mute that.
Okay.
I can't believe I didn't do that.
That's okay. This is who we are. We are in touch. There you go. The video of this place is overwhelming. It is going to be so beautiful, absolutely beautiful, classy. The black and the red and the white colors, were they picked on purpose?
The DBS Group LLC is phenomenal. Now, we contracted with them and paid them, I believe that they gave way over what we paid for.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Those guys came and gave us all the time we needed to give direction and such. And I believe that the designer, Matt, because he knew that the red was our colors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
Pulled that
Spooners, red and black, right?
Yes. So they spent a lot of time with us. We at the committee met, but then we developed a little task force, and I asked for some community input. So Blaine Churchill and Vic Sacco and Jerry Thompson came and sat at the table, and we chatted out all these things, like what should be there and what shouldn't. And it's going to be a catering type. There's a large kitchen. It actually will have 2 walls that are floaters, or if you will. The building will be able to be divided into 3 event centers. At some point, you could actually have 3 events, or have it completely open and have seating for the 1,500. So there is a large catering kitchen on the west side, and on the east side, there's just a small one over there. And we have visions then of a gift shop and a little bit of a museum. Not much, because we have the museum next door.
Right.
And then the train will be on the 1/3 of it. And then there's inside is not a pavilion, but the stage for the band.
I noticed that.
Yes.
That was just amazing.
Yes.
How are you going to handle the catering?
Are
you going to hire someone?
Yes, someone would be hired. And so we are working together now. In February, the tourism folks are going to come, the regional gal, Julie Fox, and then this Andrew Nussbaum, who was really behind this, are going to come, and we're going to start hammering out the business plan and the details of what's next, because the city is not planning to run it, but we would. My vision is that our chamber would increase in size. Then we would get staff there, and that I would like to see their office right in the roundhouse. I'd like to see both the tourism and the Chamber of Commerce right down there, and and then the events and such, they would take
Mhm.
over, you know, when they would be and such, and then they'd hire the catering and
Sure.
whatnot.
Because my heart is in foods.
Mm-hmm.
I was in foods professionally and not professionally for years and years. Did you have someone, will you have someone that will help lay out the kitchen professionally? There's some
The
things, I've worked in so many kitchens, so many churches, and the kitchen, it seems like, is the last thing that they think about. You know, they keep forgetting we need a door going out from the kitchen to take the bags and bags and bags of
Yes,
garbage. So you're not walking them through.
And we do have a door that's lined up for that. But
Excellent. But look at the dishes.
Yeah.
Just the dishes alone.
Yes.
For 1,500 people.
It's going to be
Oh,
huge.
my
But the
gracious.
DBS group then have worked with us, and what we have, our movie is, that's our beginning floor plan. That's
Okay.
the bones behind what is going to be.
Right.
So at the time of restoration, there's a lot more work.
Okay.
And so we will get people involved that will help us get that. I know DBS has done a lot of kitchens and such. They're
good.
They've done a lot of work for the city in this area. Just excellent firm. So that'll be addressed. So,
Good, because this is going to have to be a very efficient
yes.
kitchen if you
Right.
get a group that big.
Well, the floor plan, I believe, will be up too. So
Good.
I've given Matt, or your son, Ben, I meant. There's 4 poster boards, and one is the floor plan. And they've even developed like a hallway between this kitchen area and the seating area, so that the staff will be able to clearly be moving fast back and forth, getting stuff from the kitchen, and then just pulling, coming out.
Because this really has to be an efficient operation.
And I believe we've really nailed it with our efficiencies.
Now, this is a good thing for Spooner for 2 reasons. Well, 3. Not only will it develop the south end of a long green space that will also be developed over time for public use, park, all sorts of things. It will bring people into Spooner all year. I mean, Christmas parties are still going on in January.
Yes, we believe that. So on our board, we have Joel Zimmerman from the Economic Development Corporation, and they have, this is a high priority with them.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
Addie Erdman from the Spooner Chamber of Commerce is on, and Caitlin Hansen was on, but she's stepping back. But I think she's going to help us out this month. We had a death of one of our members. But so we have a group of people that bring their own talents. Mike McCone is our artist.
Oh, it's just amazing. Between he and Blaine.
Yes, it's really...
They are just marvelous.
And Brad Patchen is our railroad man, and Del Salquist, who's recently passed, they were unbelievable.
Yes.
So we got some help this summer with youth groups. Jacine Silvis and her husband, and
I
the
saw.
Catholic youth group and Catholic Church and the Wesleyan worked together, and they cleaned out that grove of trees.
Right, because not only are you working on the building, you're working on the landscaping and the grounds
city
for the pavilion and the picnic tables.
The city owned the grounds, but the city didn't own the roundhouse and the turntables. So then the Thompsons gifted that over. So now we have that whole area. So the railroad park is quickly coming into
Yes, it is.
Play.
And once that's developed, you can see how it's going to develop north all the way. So not only is it going to bring people to town who will need to sleep somewhere, they will need to eat somewhere, so it's good for Spooner. How many people, how many people would you estimate would be employed because of this new project?
Yeah, I don't know at this point. That we're not quite at that point to even guess a bit.
But it's going to be.
But it will. And the other piece is that we've chatted with artists and such. We would like a room to be the artists in town that have been looking for a nice place that's downtown that they can do their work and people could come and watch them and they could sell things. And that we have a vision of being over there and the farmers market. So we would need a staff on board to be able to manage all of this.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
This is going to provide
it is going to be
jobs,
as well as the people coming into town, and then the motels. I mean,
that's what I mean.
yes,
it's going to be a win-win-win.
Yes.
And I think it's just genius. Here you're taking a building that's, wow, well over 100 years old, renovating it. And when people watch this video, I hope they are as in awe as I was to see what you can do with some very brilliant people's input and create the most beautiful and amazing event center. Now, I noticed on the video there was a train car.
Yes.
Is it a real train car?
It is.
And what's its function?
That's our vision for Greg Vreeland, we believe, would bring down his car. And at first, it might be just there to enjoy going in and
keeping the railroad thing going.
Right. But our vision eventually is that it would come in. It could be a restaurant car that comes in and going back out. It doesn't always have to be there. But no, that's a real car, and it's on our video. It's meant to look like Greg's.
It is really cool.
It says the Wisconsin Great Northern.
And the fact that you have made walls, temporary walls.
Yes.
That you don't get a group of 40 and they feel like they're sitting in Grand Central Station with all these other tables and chairs that no one's sitting in. You can reduce the amount of space.
Yes.
I think everybody that has had an input in this has brought some very valuable ideas. And just the fact that this is not languishing at the bottom of a to-do pile somewhere. This thing really has legs and it's taking off.
Yes.
So now what you're needing, do you have any cost estimate for the entire project?
I do.
Yes. Do you?
So one of the things DBS did for us, also I asked them for a budget, if you will, and the restoring the turntable along with everything and the asphalting of the parking lot. Our anonymous donor did give we only wanted the base parking lot at this point because restoration could hurt it, and we have a pavilion coming, and then Spooner Trigo Lions helped out with that, but
You're
about $5 million.
Donor?
The number is about $5 million to actually do everything.
Okay,
and the roundhouse itself, we did submit a grant for WSDOT has money. There was $75 million that came into Wisconsin, and so we have asked for a grant, and we've come up with cost to do like 3/4 or the 2/3 of the building actually, and that would be like probably $3.9 million.
Okay, so will you use this money as it comes, or wait till you get everything that you need and then do this grand redo?
Well, the way the grant would work, we would have to get matching funds too, but we would start in, and then you can bill as you go.
This is how Shell Lake got their ATV campground. They would get a grant, and they would do this much. They'd get another grant, and then they would do this much. And the finished product down there is just glorious. It is absolutely wonderful.
Yes, I've been there. It is beautiful, yeah.
Makes me wish I was a ATVer. Obviously, you need money.
Yes.
You need donations.
Yes.
As a 501(c), they are tax deductible.
And so a letter would be provided with our tax number on it.
And how do people get the money to you?
The check could be written to FORP, FORRP, as easy as that. That's the acronym for Friends of the Railroad Park.
And you can't forget FORP.
No. And then it could be either brought to, or cash or check could be brought to City Hall or mailed to P.O. Box, I think that's 158 in Spooner.
Okay.
And then I then it would get put in the bank and a letter written. And we do offer at certain levels.
I see that.
We at the lowest level, the Gandy Dancer, you'd be on our website, but we do provide a brick in your name, and the higher donors then would get a bench or a tree. But I just want to check on that address. I believe
it took me a long time before I found out what a Gandy Dancer was.
Yes, my dad asked, why did you pick Gandy Dancer? But we thought that was appropriate.
Well, these are the low man on the totem pole when it came to building the railroad, because these are the guys, if I'm not wrong, they would be in a group, and this guy would take a whack at the stake that went into the, what is that thing? Well, the railroad ties, and then the next guy would do it, and the next guy would do it. And you had to do it in sequence, or it could be disastrous.
Right. They had to work together, and the Gandy Dancers are important, just as important.
Exactly.
It's P.O. Box 548. I'm sorry, Spooner, Wisconsin. 548. I should have that memorized.
That's okay. Now, if people want more information about the project, they would like, well, obviously we're going to show them with the video attached to this. If is there a place they can go?
Well, we have a website.
Oh, perfect.
SpoonerRailroadPark.com. www.
You don't need www.
Yeah, you don't need that anymore. So SpoonerRailroadPark.com.
Railroad Park.
We also have a Facebook that has a lot of information on it. Facebook site, Spooner Railroad Park.
Do you have a target date
of when we want it? We believe it used to be 10 years when we had the ribbon cutting. We thought if we get this done in 10 years, now that's been since 2017, but I believe our target is 5 to 7 years, but we are moving fast. And as I said, we have an anonymous donor that was gracious, that wanted to make a big splash for us so that others, it would start a fire. And I believe it did start a fire.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, and then, like I said, the JC and Silva's getting involved, and Mary Caston developed a plan for us for landscaping that Mike McCone is working with. And we had a lot of help and movement then over the summer. And so the word is getting out now.
Oh, it is.
It takes a community to make a community, I think. So.
I agree. And when you can see all of the advantages, not only will it be good for Spooner, but who knows who would be local and needing an event center for their own event.
Yes.
And it will be impressive. So we encourage you to go online,
Spooner Railroad Park.
Spooner Railroad Park. Go to their website, watch the videos attached to this, and you will just be stunned at what a marvelous thing this group is doing. Thank you, Terri Reiter. I can see why you are chairman of both committees, because lots is getting done thanks to you.
And thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
Until next week, this is Diane's Kitchen, and keep it cooking.